Welcome to a captivating journey through the sacred verses of the past, as we delve into the profound realm of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry. In this immersive YouTube audiobook, we embark on a voyage to uncover the spiritual tapestry woven by the ancient poets of the Anglo-Saxon era. Through eloquent words and evocative imagery, we shall traverse the landscapes of faith, exploring the intricate interplay between belief and verse. From the hallowed halls of monasteries to the windswept expanses of medieval England, our exploration will lead us through the verses that once echoed in the hearts of those who sought solace and guidance from the divine. We shall encounter elegies that mourn the fleeting nature of life, hymns that exalt the glory of higher powers, and riddles that challenge both mind and spirit. With a keen focus on the historical and cultural context, we shall unlock the meanings beneath the surface, unraveling the rich symbolism and metaphors that characterize these ancient poetic expressions. As we decipher the Old English language, we will reveal the treasures hidden within the lines, shedding light on the beliefs, values, and aspirations of a bygone era. Join us as we breathe life into these age-old verses, offering you an auditory odyssey that transcends time and space. Whether you're an enthusiast of history, literature, or spirituality, this YouTube audiobook promises to be a captivating portal into the mesmerizing world of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry. So, sit back, tune in, and prepare to be enraptured by the harmonious fusion of words and wisdom from a distant past. Step into the captivating world of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry through our engaging YouTube audiobook. Join us as we embark on a journey that unravels the spiritual tapestry of ancient verses, transporting you to a realm where faith and language intertwine. In this immersive experience, we'll explore the verses that once echoed through the corridors of history, bringing to life the profound connection between the Anglo-Saxons and their beliefs. From elegies that evoke emotions to hymns that exalt the divine, and riddles that challenge the intellect, each piece of poetry is a window into a bygone era. Guided by meticulous research and a deep appreciation for linguistic nuances, we'll decode the layers of meaning within these Old English compositions. As we bridge the gap between past and present, you'll gain a deeper understanding of the cultural and spiritual landscapes that shape these timeless words. To embark on this poetic odyssey and explore the echoes of an ancient faith, remember to subscribe to our channel, English Poetry. By subscribing, you'll stay updated on our journey through the corridors of literary history, diving into the depths of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry. Join us and enrich your appreciation for both the poetic craft and the human connection to the divine. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry constitutes a fascinating and invaluable facet of the literary and cultural tapestry of early medieval England. It offers us a window into the spiritual beliefs, moral values, and intellectual aspirations of a society that was undergoing profound transformations due to the influence of Christianity. Let's delve deeper into the various dimensions of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry to comprehend its significance and the intricate interplay between faith, language, and culture. Historical and cultural context. The Anglo-Saxons, who inhabited England from the 5th to the 11th centuries, experienced a cultural transition as they embraced Christianity alongside the pagan heritage. This pivotal shift is reflected in their poetry, which often blends traditional Germanic elements with Christian themes. The conversion of King Athelbert of Kent by Augustine of Canterbury in the 6th century marked the beginning of this transformative process. Themes and subjects. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry encompasses a diverse array of themes, mirroring the spiritual concerns of the society. Elegies, such as The Wanderer and The Seafarer, contemplate the transitory nature of human existence and the concept of weird fate. Hymns, like Caedmon's hymn, exalt the glory of the Creator and express gratitude for the blessings of creation. Christian narratives, including biblical stories and the lives of saints, are frequently woven into the poetic fabric. Poetic techniques and style. Characterized by its distinctive use of alliteration, where initial consonant sounds are repeated, Anglo-Saxon religious poetry exhibits a rhythmic and oral quality suited for recitation and memorization. The caesura, a pause that divides each line into two distinct halves, adds to the cadence. Poets employed rich and vivid imagery, often drawing from nature and everyday life, to convey complex theological and philosophical concepts. Influence of Christianity. The infusion of Christian doctrine into Anglo-Saxon society gave rise to a unique blend of sacred and secular in their poetry. Works like The Dream of the Rood present Christ as a heroic figure, merging traditional warrior ideals with Christian theology. The Exeter Book, a manuscript containing a collection of Anglo-Saxon poetry, includes both religious and secular works, reflecting the fluidity between these realms. Manuscripts and preservation. The preservation of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry owes much to the diligent efforts of medieval scribes who meticulously copied and maintained manuscripts. These include the Vercelli Book, the Exeter Book, and the Junius manuscript. These manuscripts not only safeguarded the poems themselves but also provided insight into the evolution of the English language and the cultural heritage of the era. Cultural identity and expression. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry serves as a mirror of the evolving cultural identity of the Anglo-Saxon people. It reflects their capacity to adapt and integrate diverse elements into a coherent literary tradition, showcasing the complex interplay between their ancestral beliefs and newfound Christian convictions. Legacy and influence. The legacy of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry extends beyond its historical context. Its influence reverberates through the annals of English literature, leaving an indelible mark on subsequent poetic traditions. Elements such as alliteration and the use of poetic devices continue to shape modern poetry. Furthermore, these poems provide a connection to the spiritual and intellectual concerns of a distant past, inviting us to engage with the profound questions that have preoccupied humanity for centuries. In sum, Anglo-Saxon religious poetry is a treasure trove of insight into the spiritual, cultural, and linguistic dynamics of early medieval England. Through its eloquent verses, it invites us to explore the intersection of faith and language, providing a bridge to a bygone era while illuminating timeless truths about the human experience. Beyond the realms already explored, Anglo-Saxon religious poetry offers a plethora of nuanced aspects that provide a deeper understanding of its significance and intricacies. Let's continue our journey into this rich tapestry. Pagan influences and syncretism. While Christianity took root, remnants of pagan beliefs persisted in Anglo-Saxon society, creating a fascinating syncretic blend in religious poetry. Poems like The Wife's Lament intertwine elements of sorrow and longing with echoes of pre-Christian traditions, showcasing the coexistence of old and new. Liturgical function. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry wasn't just a form of artistic expression, it also served a liturgical purpose. Many poems were composed to be sung or recited during religious ceremonies and rituals. This underscores their role in communal worship and spiritual education. Educational and didactic elements. Religious poetry often carried didactic elements, imparting moral lessons and spiritual guidance. For example, the seafarer metaphorically navigates the treacherous seas of life, offering insights into the virtue of perseverance in the face of hardships. Monastic and ecclesiastical context. The monastic environment played a crucial role in the creation and preservation of religious poetry. Monasteries were centers of learning and culture, and monks were often the custodians of knowledge, diligently copying manuscripts to ensure the transmission of these texts to future generations. Symbolism and allegory. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry is rife with symbolic imagery and allegorical narratives. The cross, a central Christian symbol, is personified in The Dream of the Rood, recounting the crucifixion from the perspective of the cross itself, infusing it with emotional depth. Social and cultural diversity. The religious poetry of this era offers glimpses into the diversity of Anglo-Saxon society. The Wonders of the East presents a catalogue of exotic and fantastical marvels from distant lands, reflecting the Anglo-Saxons' curiosity about the wider world. Emotional range and catharsis. From the somber tones of elegies to the exultant heights of hymns, Anglo-Saxon religious poetry encompassed a wide emotional spectrum. These verses provided a means for individuals to express the deepest emotions and find solace in a world that was often uncertain and perilous. Interplay with visual art and music. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry often resonated with other forms of artistic expression, such as illuminated manuscripts and musical compositions. The synergy between these mediums enriched the spiritual experience, combining visual, auditory, and textual elements. Continuity and evolution. The themes and techniques found in Anglo-Saxon religious poetry laid the foundation for subsequent English literary traditions. The cadences of alliteration, the exploration of human existence, and the contemplation of the divine echoed through the works of later poets, leaving an enduring legacy. In essence, Anglo-Saxon religious poetry is a multidimensional masterpiece that transcends time, offering us a profound glimpse into the spiritual, cultural, and intellectual currents of an era that shaped the course of English literature. It invites us to connect with the past, engage with the eternal questions of existence, and appreciate the intricate interplay between faith, creativity, and human expression. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry, while deeply rooted in spirituality, also offers insights into the political and social landscape of the time. As rulers sought to establish and consolidate their authority, they patronized the creation of religious texts to bolster their legitimacy. These works often fused Christian themes with the glorification of rulers, presenting them as divinely ordained leaders. Furthermore, Anglo-Saxon religious poetry reflects the concept of kenning, a unique and metaphorical way of describing objects or concepts. Kennings, such as whale road, for the sea, and bone house, for the body, added layers of symbolism and depth to the poetry, enhancing its mystical and allegorical qualities. The role of women in Anglo-Saxon society finds subtle resonance in religious poetry. Poems like Judith highlight the bravery and strength of female figures, offering a counterbalance to the prevailing patriarchal norms. These representations provide a glimpse into the complex interplay of gender dynamics in the early medieval period. While some poems were written by known authors, many were products of an oral tradition, passed down through generations before being transcribed. This oral transmission allowed for variations and adaptations, contributing to the dynamic nature of the poetry and its resonance with diverse audiences. The physical manuscripts containing these poems offer insights beyond the text itself. Annotations and glosses made by later scribes indicate the evolving interpretations and understandings of the material, shedding light on the evolving literary and religious culture. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry also explores the concept of exile, a prevalent theme in many works. Exile was not only a physical state but also a spiritual and emotional one, often linked to a sense of separation from God. This theme resonates deeply with the struggles and aspirations of the Anglo-Saxon people. The influence of Latin literature and theology on Anglo-Saxon religious poetry is notable. Latin texts were translated and adapted into Old English, enriching the vernacular tradition and providing a broader theological framework for the poets to draw upon. The inherent ambiguity and layers of meaning in Anglo-Saxon religious poetry invite ongoing interpretation and scholarship. Modern readers continue to engage with these texts, exploring new dimensions and uncovering hidden connections that contribute to our evolving understanding of the era. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry, deeply interwoven with the fabric of its time, also serves as a mirror to the evolving concepts of death, salvation, and the afterlife. The poems often contemplate the mysteries of mortality and the hope for redemption, providing a glimpse into the spiritual aspirations and fears of the Anglo-Saxon people. These verses, such as The Phoenix, which draws from Christian and classical influences, offer a vivid portrayal of the cycle of death and rebirth. The concept of heroism, a defining element of Anglo-Saxon culture, finds its way into religious poetry as well. While rooted in warrior values, the heroic ethos takes on new dimensions, symbolizing the battle between good and evil, and the triumph of faith over adversity. This transformation of heroism reflects the shifting values of a society in transition. The intersection of nature and divinity is a recurring motif in Anglo-Saxon religious poetry. The natural world is often depicted as a manifestation of God's creation, and the changing seasons and elements are imbued with symbolic meaning. This confluence of the earthly and the divine serves as a reminder of the omnipresence of God in everyday life. While many poems express devout Christian sentiments, remnants of pagan cosmology and mythology occasionally surface, revealing the enduring influence of pre-Christian beliefs. These vestiges offer glimpses into the complex process of religious syncretism and the gradual assimilation of pagan concepts into the Christian framework. The emotional depth and resonance of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry are heightened through its use of personal pronouns and direct address. The intimate dialogue with the divine, as seen in The Husband's Message, lends a personal and emotional dimension to the poetry, forging a connection between the individual believer and the divine. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry, in its eloquence, also serves as an agent of cultural memory, preserving historical events, rituals, and customs. The poem, The Battle of Maldon, while not overtly religious, captures the valor and sacrifice of warriors in defense of their land, showcasing the interplay between martial heroism and spiritual duty. The act of translation itself is a testament to the enduring power of these poems. As the English language evolved, many of these works were translated into Middle English and beyond, ensuring their accessibility to new generations and fostering a sense of continuity with the past. In this complex mosaic of themes, techniques, and influences, Anglo-Saxon religious poetry remains an ever-evolving field of study and appreciation. It invites us to delve deeper into the psyche of an era, to explore the intricacies of belief, and to engage with the profound expressions of faith and longing that continue to resonate across centuries. Amidst the expanse of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry lies an intricate web of intertextuality, where poems reference and echo each other, creating a rich network of thematic connections. This interplay allows for a deeper exploration of shared concepts and the evolution of ideas across different compositions. For instance, the theme of exile in The Wanderer finds resonance in other poems, such as The Seafarer, contributing to a cohesive narrative thread that runs through the poetic corpus. The performative aspect of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry is worth highlighting. These verses were not meant to be passively consumed but were often recited or chanted, transforming the act of reading into an immersive and communal experience. The rhythm and cadence of the poetry would engage both the mind and the senses, fostering a deeper connection to the spiritual themes being explored. The poetic landscape also extends beyond the written word to include visual elements. Manuscripts containing religious poetry were adorned with intricate illustrations, often incorporating scenes from biblical narratives or symbolic motifs. These illuminations added layers of meaning and visual splendor, enhancing the overall sensory experience of engaging with the poetry. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry played a role in shaping the emerging English identity. As the English language evolved and solidified, these poems contributed to its growth, acting as a conduit for transmitting linguistic shifts, grammatical changes, and semantic nuances. This linguistic evolution reflects the dynamic nature of culture and communication. The motif of journey and pilgrimage is a recurring theme in Anglo-Saxon religious poetry. Whether it's the physical journey of a traveler or the spiritual pilgrimage of the soul, these poems offer insights into the concept of seeking, transformation, and the quest for a higher purpose. This motif resonates with the broader human quest for meaning and enlightenment. The role of women as both subjects and potentially creators of religious poetry is a subject of scholarly exploration. While the historical record is limited, some poems, like Wolf and Edwasser, provide glimpses into the experiences and emotions of women in the Anglo-Saxon world, sparking discussions about their agency and influence. The international connections and cultural exchanges of the time find echoes in the religious poetry as well. Contacts with other cultures, such as the Vikings and the Irish, left traces in the themes and motifs of the poetry, showcasing the interconnectedness of medieval societies and the cross-pollination of ideas. In sum, the tapestry of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry is a multi-dimensional creation that weaves together language, sound, visuals, and cultural dynamics. It speaks not only to the spiritual inclinations of an era but also to the complexities of human existence, the evolution of language, and the enduring power of artistic expression. As we navigate this intricate labyrinth, we uncover new layers of meaning and forge a deeper connection with an age that continues to resonate in the corridors of time. The context of oral tradition and communal recitation adds an additional layer of significance to Anglo-Saxon religious poetry. Many of these poems were composed with the intention of being recited aloud, often in the presence of an audience. This oral performance aspect meant that the poetry was not confined to solitary reading but was a shared experience that fostered a sense of collective identity and belonging. The concept of flitting, or verbal jousting, is also reflected in some of the religious poetry. While often associated with secular contexts, elements of flitting can be found in the challenges and confrontations presented in certain religious poems, highlighting the complex interplay between contest and piety. The motifs of suffering and martyrdom, drawn from Christian traditions, are woven into the fabric of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry. These themes reflect the theological emphasis on the redemptive power of suffering and martyrdom, offering a lens through which the Anglo-Saxons interpreted their own struggles and hardships. Dreams and visions are recurring motifs in many of these poems, blurring the boundaries between the physical and the spiritual realms. Visions serve as a conduit for divine revelations, offering insights into the mysteries of the universe and the workings of the divine plan. The concept of time is explored in various ways within Anglo-Saxon religious poetry. Poems like The Ruin contemplate the transience of human achievements and the inexorable passage of time, inviting reflection on the ephemeral nature of existence and the enduring significance of the divine. The intersections between Christianity and indigenous folk beliefs are glimpsed through magical elements and charms embedded in some religious poetry. These elements evoke the Anglo-Saxons' complex negotiation between the Christian faith and residual belief in protective charms and mystical practices. The poetry's exploration of the human relationship with the divine often takes on an intimate and personal tone. The poetry becomes a conduit for expressing individual yearnings, doubts, and hopes, creating a space for the reader or listener to engage with their own spirituality on a profound level. Lastly, the process of translation and interpretation continues to shape our understanding of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry. Modern translations, often accompanied by scholarly commentaries, allow contemporary readers to access the richness of these poems while also highlighting the challenges of interpreting nuances across languages and cultures. In essence, Anglo-Saxon religious poetry is a kaleidoscope of themes, techniques, and influences that unveils layers of meaning and insight with each new exploration. It speaks to the universal human quest for meaning, transcendence, and connection, resonating across time and inviting us to journey through the spiritual landscapes of a distant age. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry bears witness to the intricate relationship between sound and meaning. The deliberate use of rhythm, meter, and alliteration created a musical quality that heightened the emotional impact of the verses. This musicality allowed for a multi-sensory engagement with the poetry, tapping into the deep-rooted human connection between sound and spirituality. The notion of divine providence, a central theme in Christian theology, finds its expression in many Anglo-Saxon religious poems. The belief in God's guiding hand and ultimate control over human destinies is interwoven with the narratives, offering reassurance and solace in times of uncertainty. The blurred boundaries between the sacred and the secular are evident in the treatment of ordinary, everyday life within religious poetry. Poems like The Gifts of Men celebrate the material and social aspects of life, reminding readers of the interconnectedness of the spiritual and temporal realms. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry often presents a paradoxical view of exile and homecoming. While exile is associated with physical separation and spiritual displacement, it is also depicted as a transformative journey that can lead to a deeper connection with the divine. The longing for home becomes intertwined with the yearning for a heavenly homeland. The concept of mercy and redemption is a cornerstone of Anglo-Saxon religious thought, and it is powerfully depicted in poems like The Wanderer. These verses emphasize the compassionate nature of God, who offers solace and salvation to those who seek Him, even in the midst of adversity. The role of women as both spiritual guides and symbols of virtue is explored through figures like the Virgin Mary and other saintly women. These representations provide insights into the evolving perceptions of femininity and spirituality in a changing religious landscape. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry's influence on other artistic forms, such as sculpture and visual art, extends its reach beyond the literary realm. The depiction of biblical scenes and religious themes in visual arts complements the poetry, enriching the collective cultural experience. While much of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry is serious and contemplative, elements of humor and satire can also be found. Poems like "The Order of the World" incorporate wit and irony to convey moral lessons, reminding us of the complexity and diversity of human experience captured within these verses. The fragments and gaps in the surviving manuscripts hint at lost works and untold stories, inviting speculation and imagination about the broader landscape of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry that may have existed. In this vast expanse of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry, every nuance and motif weaves a thread in the tapestry of human spirituality, inviting us to explore the intricate patterns and timeless truths that have resonated across centuries. As we engage with these verses, we embark on a journey of discovery that bridges the past and the present, nurturing our connection to the enduring search for meaning and transcendence. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry, with its intricate layers, also delves into the concept of divine justice. Poems such as "The Wife's Lament" contemplate the enigmatic workings of fate and divine retribution, reflecting the Anglo-Saxons grappling with the complexities of a just and sometimes inscrutable God. The interconnectedness between Anglo-Saxon religious poetry and the natural world goes beyond mere symbolism. Nature is often portrayed as a reflection of divine order, with elements like trees and birds carrying metaphorical significance. These representations reveal an intimate bond between the spiritual and the physical realms. While many poems are overtly Christian, others embody a more syncretic spirit, weaving pagan imagery and Christian themes. These syncretic works, like Beowulf, offer a lens through which we can glimpse the coexistence of different belief systems and the gradual integration of pagan elements into the Christian narrative. The emotional landscapes depicted in the poetry often parallel the inner struggles of the Anglo-Saxon people. The elegiac tones, mournful refrains, and expressions of longing mirror the broader emotional landscape of a society marked by upheaval, migration, and transformation. The role of patronage in the creation and dissemination of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry adds a socio-economic layer to its significance. The support of powerful patrons, often nobility or the clergy, not only facilitated the production of these works but also indicates the role of poetry as a vehicle for social and political influence. The linguistic challenges of translation from Old English to modern languages continue to shape our encounter with these texts. The process of rendering the nuances of Old English expressions into contemporary language raises questions of interpretation and highlights the fluidity of meaning across linguistic and cultural contexts. Anglo-Saxon religious poetry's engagement with the concept of pilgrimage extends beyond the spiritual realm. Pilgrimage becomes a metaphor for the human journey through life, with its trials, revelations, and eventual quest for spiritual fulfillment. In exploring concepts of sacrifice and devotion, some poems depict characters who willingly endure suffering for the sake of their faith. These portrayals highlight the profound impact of belief on individuals' actions and underscore the lengths to which people will go to demonstrate the devotion to the divine. The accessibility of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry, enabled by modern translations and digital platforms, offers an unprecedented opportunity for a global audience to engage with these ancient verses. This accessibility fosters cross-cultural connections and invites a diverse array of perspectives to enrich the ongoing conversation around these texts. In this ever-expanding exploration of Anglo-Saxon religious poetry, we continue to uncover layers of wisdom, complexity, and resonance that affirm its enduring relevance in shaping our understanding of spirituality, humanity, and the eternal search for truth.